Welcome, everyone. We're diving deep today into the world of inner peace and transformation.
Yeah, exploring a talk by a spiritual teacher who's got some really fascinating insights on mindfulness, energy, and all those things we're all looking for, I guess you could say, for a more fulfilling life.
It's so true. You know, what struck me was the speaker starts with this story about a beggar who's on his deathbed, and he's clinging to something in his hand.
Oh, wow.
He's refusing to let go, even as he's taking his last breaths.
Wow.
Turns out he was holding a handful of worthless coins.
Hmm.
It makes you think, doesn't it? Like, what are we holding on to so tightly in our own lives, that might be preventing us from actually experiencing true peace or happiness?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a powerful image, isn't it? And it really sets the stage for this whole exploration of cultivating inner peace.
Yeah, and one of the first things that the speaker talks about is how to take the peace we experience during meditation and extend it into everyday life.
Right, because who can spend the whole day meditating?
Exactly. I know, I can't. The speaker talks about two techniques: repeated recall and nightly affirmation.
Okay.
So repeated recall is about consciously bringing back that feeling of peace you had during meditation throughout the day, like taking a deep breath, closing your eyes for a moment,
Right.
and really feeling that sense of calm again. What do you think about that?
I think it's brilliant because we often go through our days just reacting,
Yeah.
not really being present. And with repeated recall, you're actively choosing to shift your state, bringing back that peace. It's like hitting a reset button.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like creating a mental sanctuary you can access anywhere, anytime.
Exactly.
Then there's nightly affirmation, where you use specific breathing techniques as you're falling asleep
Right.
to affirm that desire for that meditative state to kind of permeate your whole day.
It's interesting because we often underestimate the power of our subconscious.
Oh, absolutely.
But by doing that,
Right.
you're essentially planting the seeds for a more peaceful experience.
Oh, that's so true. It reminds me of something else the speaker said about how negative memories impact our present state.
Oh, really?
They shape how we feel right now.
Absolutely.
But then wouldn't recalling moments of peace do the opposite?
It would. It's like we can choose to focus on those positive memories and shape our future reality.
Totally.
It's like planting seeds of peace and nurturing them.
Oh.
What I thought was interesting was the speaker's point about unused time.
Oh, yeah.
Like those moments when you're waiting in line or commuting,
Yeah.
those can become opportunities for peace.
I'm so guilty of just being focused on getting to the next thing.
Yes.
I miss those opportunities.
But think about it. You could be using those moments to practice repeated recall
That's true.
or just cultivate presence. It's
Yeah.
a subtle shift, but it can change your whole experience of life.
That's a great point. And speaking of shifting perspectives, the speaker then dives into this really fascinating topic:
Okay.
the power of transforming sexual energy.
Ooh.
They introduce this concept that love and sexual desire are opposing forces.
Okay.
As one grows, the other diminishes. Now, they're not saying that sexual desire is bad or wrong.
Right.
But it's more about recognizing that true love transcends those limitations of desire.
I see.
True love is about giving rather than receiving, connecting on a deeper, more selfless level.
Yeah.
They share this really insightful story about Gandhi and Kasturba, his wife,
Okay.
and how their relationship ultimately evolved to a point where she became like a mother to him.
Interesting.
It's not so much about the specific dynamic of their relationship, but the transformation of their love.
I see.
It shifted from passionate desire to a more profound, selfless connection, almost familial.
I see.
There's this ancient Rishi saying they share: "May your husband become your 11th son."
Wow.
It's a little strange at first glance, but when you really think about it, it speaks to this idea of love transcending those romantic or sexual limitations.
Yeah, highlights the transformative power of love.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that the energy we associate with desire can be channeled towards love and spiritual growth.
That's a powerful concept.
It is. And then the speaker takes this idea of connection even further and explores this whole concept of the illusion of separation
Okay.
and the nature of true saints.
Interesting.
They pose this intriguing question: why don't saints and spiritual leaders work together more often?
Yeah, you would think it'd be all about collaboration, right?
Exactly. But the speaker points out that true saints, those who've transcended the ego,
Right.
are already unified in their pursuit of truth.
It's like they're operating on a different level,
Exactly.
a level where separation is just an illusion.
So it's not that they're intentionally avoiding collaboration. It's
Right.
more that their actions naturally stem from this place of unity, this recognition that they're already connected.
Exactly. They're not driven by the need to prove themselves or promote their own teachings. They're simply expressing the truth that flows through them.
That's so powerful. And to illustrate this point, they share this humorous anecdote about a group of saints who were invited to speak at a big event,
Okay.
and they refused to share the stage.
What? Why?
Because they were all hung up on the seating arrangements. Concerns about who would sit where, who would be higher or lower.
Oh, my goodness.
It's a perfect example of how even those we perceive as enlightened
Yeah,
can get caught up in those ego games.
absolutely. It's a good reminder that we're all on a journey.
Oh, no. So how do we as regular folks navigate this?
Well, the speaker emphasizes self-awareness,
Mm.
you know, recognizing the ego's tricks and choosing to act from love, compassion, humility.
Mhm.
And they share this contrasting story about a politician who questioned a saint about sitting on a raised platform.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He's like, aren't we all equal? But the saint's answer was pure ego.
Really?
Yeah, just clinging to tradition.
Well,
It shows how easily ego can cloud our perception.
it makes you wonder how often our own actions are shaped by ego without us even realizing it.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
like we need to constantly be questioning our motives,
Yeah.
making sure we're not letting our egos lead the way.
That's a good point. Then they share this touching story about Kabir and Farid,
Oh, yeah.
two spiritual masters from different traditions.
Okay.
And they meet, and without a word, they just embrace this deep connection. No need for titles or seating arrangements.
Just pure connection.
Exactly. It's a beautiful reminder that when that ego dissolves,
Hmm?
true connection becomes possible.
What we're all striving for, isn't
I
it?
think so. And speaking of connection, the speaker then introduces this concept that might seem a bit radical at first.
Okay.
Living a life without goals,
Oh, wow.
driven by inner purpose.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
So I'm curious, how do you even function in the world without goals? Don't you need some kind of direction?
It's a common misconception that a life without goals is a life without meaning.
Right.
But what the speaker's advocating for is a shift in perspective. There's a fundamental difference between actions driven by desire, which usually involve a goal, and those motivated by compassion, which may not have a specific outcome in mind.
So it's not about abandoning all ambition or desire.
Right.
It's about understanding the nature of those desires
Yes.
and making sure they align with our true purpose.
Exactly. They make a really interesting distinction.
Okay.
Actions motivated by desire create karma,
Okay.
while selfless actions do not.
Now that's a pretty big claim.
It is.
Mm.
They explain that when we act out of selfish desire, we create these attachments to the outcome. And those attachments can bind us to suffering.
I see.
On the other hand, when we act selflessly out of love and compassion,
Yeah,
those actions are free from attachment and therefore don't generate karma.
that makes sense.
They use the analogy of a mother's love for her child.
Oh, wow.
It's pure unconditional.
Beautiful.
It drives her actions, but it's not about achieving a specific goal.
It's love as a driving force, not a means to an end.
Exactly. And to make this relatable, the speaker shares their own experience.
Oh, really?
They admit to not having a specific goal in life. Their purpose is to share insights and help others.
Wow.
So their actions are a natural outpouring of their wisdom and compassion, not some calculated strategy to achieve a result.
Interesting. So this leads into another powerful concept, surrendering to a higher power,
Yes.
allowing life to unfold without personal attachment to outcomes. What are your initial thoughts on this?
I have to admit the idea of letting go is a little scary.
It is. It can be.
Don't we need goals and ambitions to drive us forward?
It's a natural concern, but the speaker isn't suggesting we become passive.
Okay.
It's about shifting from a place of control and striving to a place of trust and surrender.
So not giving up on our dreams.
Right.
Just approaching them with a different mindset.
Yes, one rooted in faith and detachment from the outcome.
That's actually very liberating.
It is. But let's bring it back down to earth a little bit. Remember the listener specifically asked about the physiological effects of anger?
So the speaker dives into this idea of transforming negative emotions into creative power.
They explain that all emotions, even the ones we consider negative,
Yes.
are powerful energies
Right.
that need an outlet.
And suppressing those emotions can actually lead to blockages and illness.
So it's like trying to hold back a raging river.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, it's going to burst.
Yeah.
The key takeaway is it's not about pretending we don't have these emotions.
Okay.
It's about learning how to express them in a healthy way.
So not about denying those feelings,
Right.
but understanding their nature and channeling that energy in a way that benefits us.
Exactly. And they made an important distinction between negative and positive expressions of anger.
Oh, how so?
Like throwing a tantrum that's negative.
Right.
It's destructive.
Hmm.
But channeling that same energy into something creative, like art music or even exercise, can be transformative.
Like taking that raw energy and molding it into something beautiful.
Exactly.
Right.
And this is especially important when it comes to teaching children.
Oh,
Instead of just saying no when they're angry,
right.
we need to show them how to channel that energy.
Okay, that makes sense.
It reminds me of the analogy the speaker uses
Okay.
about how manure can be transformed into the fragrance of flowers.
Wow. Yeah, that's a powerful image.
It is. It shows that even things we perceive as negative can be transmuted into something extraordinary.
So how do we start to see our own negative qualities as potential strengths?
The key is recognizing that we all have these different aspects within us,
Mm-hmm.
and they all have their own unique energy.
Okay.
It's about accepting those aspects, understanding their energy, and choosing how we express them.
It's like we all have these hidden superpowers.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is the speaker reveals that many great spiritual figures
Mm-hmm.
actually had strong sexual drives.
Oh, wow.
They didn't deny or suppress this energy. They transformed it.
That's mind-blowing.
It really challenges our preconceived notions about spirituality.
It does. It shows us that even those seemingly worldly aspects of ourselves
Yeah,
can be a source of power and growth.
absolutely. It's not about denying who we are.
Right.
It's about embracing our wholeness and consciously directing our energy.
This is so insightful.
It is, and we've only just scratched the surface.
I know. There's so much more to explore.
There is.
We've covered so much already, inner peace, transforming sexual energy, even the illusion of separation. It's a lot. But I want to go back to this idea of living a life without goals.
It's definitely a shift in thinking, especially in a world that's all about goal setting. But remember what the speaker said. It's not about becoming passive. It's more about understanding that desire and how sometimes attachment to outcomes can lead us away from what really matters.
So it's about aligning our actions with a deeper purpose, like something beyond those external achievements.
Exactly. Like that analogy of the mother's love. It's not driven by a desire for a specific outcome.
Right. It's pure and unconditional.
Yes, it's a natural outpouring. When we connect with our true purpose, our actions flow naturally,
Yeah,
guided by an inner compass, not some rigid plan.
I get that. But how do we tap into that inner purpose? It seems kind of abstract.
It is a journey, and it's unique for everyone. The speaker doesn't give us step-by-step, but they do talk about the importance of cultivating a deep connection with yourself.
Through things like meditation or journaling.
Exactly. Anything that helps you quiet the external noise and tune in to your inner world.
So creating space for introspection, listening to what our soul is trying to tell us.
Yes. It's about developing that inner awareness, that sensitivity to your thoughts, feelings, motivations. And as you do that, you might start to notice patterns emerging, values or passions that keep coming up. Those are clues.
Clues to our deeper purpose.
Exactly. It's about paying attention to what lights you up, what gives you meaning, not just what you think you should be doing or what society tells you.
That makes a lot of sense. What about all those negative emotions, though? We talked about anger, but what about fear, jealousy, resentment? How do those fit in?
Such an important question. And the speaker addresses all of it. They remind us that all emotions, even the negative ones, are just energy. It's how we choose to express and direct that energy that makes all the difference.
So it's not about eliminating them altogether.
Right, which is what a lot of people try to do.
It is, but it's more about recognizing that they have a purpose, a message to convey.
And learning to work with them skillfully.
Yeah.
Like remember that manure analogy?
Oh, yeah. It can be transformed into something beautiful.
Exactly. What we perceive as negative can be a source of power and growth if we channel it the right way. For example, fear often comes up when we're stepping outside our comfort zone.
Which is necessary for growth.
Exactly. Instead of letting fear paralyze us, we can see it as a signal that we're on the right track, pushing ourselves to evolve.
They embrace the fear.
In a way, see it as a guide, a signpost on your journey. And the same goes for other challenging emotions like jealousy or resentment.
Okay.
Instead of letting them fester, use them as opportunities for introspection. Jealousy might point to a desire you've been neglecting. Resentment could highlight a boundary that needs to be set.
It's like those emotions are messengers.
They are trying to get our attention, point us toward growth. It's about recognizing the wisdom within those emotions, even the uncomfortable ones, and using them as fuel for transformation.
This is so empowering. It's like we're not victims of our emotions. We have the power to choose how we experience them.
Absolutely. That's a crucial part of cultivating inner peace and living a purpose-driven life,
Yeah.
taking responsibility for your emotional well-being.
It all comes back to that, doesn't it? So to recap, it's not about pretending we don't have negative emotions. It's about understanding them, accepting them, and learning to work with them.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
And that acceptance ties back to the concept of surrender.
Oh, yeah.
Surrendering doesn't mean giving up. It's about recognizing that we're not in control of everything,
Right.
trusting that there's a larger intelligence at play. Sometimes the best thing to do is let go and trust the flow.
Like releasing the oars and letting the current carry us.
Beautiful analogy. It highlights the importance of faith and trust in this process of surrender.
But how do we cultivate that faith and trust? It seems like a lot to ask, especially in a world that feels so chaotic.
It is a practice. It takes time. The speaker suggests starting by noticing those small synchronicities in your life. You know, those seemingly coincidental events that guide us.
Like what?
Maybe you're thinking about a problem and suddenly you come across the perfect solution. Or you're feeling lost and bump into someone who offers just the guidance you need.
Those moments feel magical, but we often dismiss them as just coincidence.
Exactly. But what if we chose to see them as signs? As evidence that there's a wisdom guiding us even when we don't realize it.
So the more we pay attention to those synchronicities,
The more we reinforce that trust and faith in how life unfolds.
we're training ourselves to see the interconnectedness, the guidance that's always there.
Precisely. And as we develop that awareness, we can start to let go of that need to control everything. Relax into the flow knowing we're being supported and guided even when things don't go according to plan.
That's very freeing, and it really connects with living without goals driven by purpose. It's not about forcing things. It's about aligning with the flow, trusting we're exactly where we're supposed to be.
That's where true peace and freedom reside. Letting go of the struggle, the resistance,
Yeah.
and allowing ourselves to be carried by the current, knowing it's ultimately leading us to our highest good.
This has been so insightful. We've covered so much, from cultivating inner peace to transforming emotions to living a purpose-driven life. It's like we've been given a whole new toolbox.
It is a rich and multi-layered talk, and we've only scratched the surface.
We've gone deep, haven't we? Inner peace, transforming energy, letting go of the ego, surrender. It's a lot to unpack. But you know what's really sticking with me? This idea that even our negative qualities can be strengths.
Yeah, that was powerful, right? Recognizing our wholeness, embracing all parts of ourselves. The speaker really emphasizes that there's potential even in the parts we might judge or reject.
It's like shifting our perspective, seeing those negative things as opportunities instead of roadblocks. But how do we actually do that? It seems like a pretty big mental leap.
It is a shift. It takes practice.
Mm-hmm.
The speaker suggests becoming more aware of those judgments we make about ourselves. You know, when you catch yourself criticizing something,
Mm-hmm.
pause for a second. Ask yourself, is there another way to look at this? Could this actually be a strength in disguise?
That's a good question to ask. Instead of just labeling something as bad or wrong, we can try to understand its energy, how it might be serving us.
Right. A lot of times, those so-called negative qualities are just aspects of ourselves that haven't been channeled or expressed properly. Like someone who's super critical,
Oh, yeah.
they might have amazing discernment, attention to detail. But if it's turned inward, it becomes self-sabotage.
So it's about recognizing the potential in those qualities and learning how to use them in a positive way.
Exactly. We're all alchemists turning lead into gold.
I love that.
The speaker reminds us that this transformation is an ongoing process. It's a lifelong journey of self-discovery and growth.
So it's not about reaching some perfect state of being.
Right. It's
Yeah.
about continually evolving, learning, expanding our capacity for love, compassion, understanding.
That's where it's at. You know, for someone who's feeling lost or overwhelmed right now, all this talk of inner peace and transformation might seem a bit like, okay, where do I even start?
It's true. It can feel overwhelming,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't have to have it all figured out right this second.
Mm.
The beauty is it's a journey of small steps, consistent effort, and a lot of self-compassion.
So not about making huge changes overnight.
No, just small steps. Be patient with yourself, trust the process, and remember those two techniques we discussed earlier, repeated recall and nightly affirmation.
Oh, yeah. Simple, but so effective.
Right. They can be done anywhere, anytime. You're
Right.
stuck in traffic, feeling overwhelmed at work. Take a few moments and reconnect with that inner peace. And don't forget what we talked about with focusing on the positive.
Like how dwelling on negative memories can bring us down.
Right. But we can use that same principle to our advantage.
Yeah.
Focus on the good things, the positive experiences.
Train our minds to see the beauty even in the midst of challenges.
Yes. And that shift in perspective can change everything. It's not about denying the tough stuff, but choosing to focus on the light, even when it's hard.
Cultivating gratitude, appreciation, and hope.
Beautifully put. And that brings us back full circle to cultivating inner peace. It's not about living in a bubble. It's about building that resilience, that sense of calm and clarity that helps us navigate whatever life throws at us. It's a beautiful thing. And remember that inner peace isn't out there somewhere. It's within you always. It's a matter of cultivating it with the tools and insights we've been talking about.
So as we wrap up this amazing deep dive, I want to leave everyone with the question that the speaker poses. What are some of those seemingly negative qualities within you that you can start to see as strengths waiting to be unlocked?
It's a powerful question. It encourages us to look at ourselves with kindness and curiosity, to see the potential, even in the parts we might normally judge. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about embracing our wholeness and knowing that all parts of us can contribute to our growth.
It's about seeing ourselves as works in progress, always evolving, always becoming. I really hope this deep dive has given you some new insights and inspired you to start your own journey of self-discovery and transformation. And remember those practices and that wisdom we talked about. It's always there for you. Keep coming back to it. Keep practicing and keep believing in your own incredible potential.
And trust the process. The path to inner peace and fulfillment is always unfolding. You have the power to choose how you navigate it.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into insightful ideas and transformative practices.
Please like, share and subscribe.